Although some people would disagree, the most influential organization that stood up against child labor in the United States was the National Child Labor Committee. This group did not just create an act to stop laboring children, but also continues to educate young people about the workforce today. Child labor was especially relevant in the early 1900s, but it started to decline when social groups started to form and protest. The majority of these groups were formed by working women. Some of these groups were the Consumers League, Working Women's Societies, and the Working Men's Party. Although people would say that these groups were very important in the movement to stop child labor, they were most influential when they combined to form the National Child Labor Committee in 1904. The National Child Labor Committee was founded by Florence Kelley. Kelley began her work in Illinois by investigating sweatshop conditions. She fought to limit workday hours for women and children, who were both used as cheaper forms of labor compared to those of men. After her work in Illinois, Kelley was given the role to lead the National Consumers League, a group fighting against child labor in New York. She accepted and moved to New York in 1899. While there, she spoke about the horrible sweatshop conditions that ruin the lives of children and adults. On July 22, 1905, in Philadelphia, Florence Kelley gave one of her biggest speeches against child labor and women's suffrage. She said, "Tonight while we sleep, several thousand little girls will be working in textile mills, all the night through, in the deafening noise of spindles in the looms spinning, and weaving cotton and wool, silks and ribbons for us to buy. Under the sweating system, tiny children make artificial flowers and neckwear for us to buy. They carry bundles of garments from the factories to the tenements, little beasts of burden, robbed in the school life that they may work for us." Florence Kelley eventually founded the National Child Labor Committee, known as the NCLC. This group started working to end child labor in the United States by trying to pass an amendment to ban child labor. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court ruled this amendment unconstitutional. It was ruled this because the amendment overstepped the government's power in overseeing interstate commerce. In other words, this act let the states and the NCLC oversee more of the movement of goods and money from place to place. They ruled this unconstitutional because this was the federal government's job. Not easily discouraged, the NCLC turned its focus from federal laws to strengthening child labor state laws from coast to coast. The result was a triumphal passage of the Fair Labor Standards Act in 1938. This act was approved by the Supreme Court. It raised the minimum age for manufacturing up to 14, the minimum age for mining to 16, and the maximum workday to 8 hours. Lastly, this important act forced companies to only hire laborers ages 16 and over to work night shifts. This act was efficient because by 1920, the number of child laborers in the United States was cut in half compared to those in 1910. This act is also still in place today. Although the NCLC created a nation-changing act, they did not stop there. Today, the NCLC works by encouraging their Kapow program. This stands for Kids and the Power of Work. This program teaches young children in the United States about the workforce. The Kapow program also works to improve health and education in children, including immigrants. Lastly, the Kapow program continues to prevent child labor in the United States and around the world. In addition to this program, the NCLC created the Lewis Hine Award, named after the famous NCLC photographer Lewis Hine. This award is given to 10 people each year that show kindness and service to youth. Although there were many influential groups taking part in the fight against child labor in the early 1900s, the most important one was the National Child Labor Committee. This committee proved its importance by not just giving up when their ideas were shot down, but by pushing through to fight for their beliefs, continuing their work today.